There it is.
That's what I did last time, too.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay. Hey, how about that? All right. Just a little brief pause. And so Blake is going to have 7 minutes in total. I'll be giving him time signals. Again, he only had half an hour to prep this speech, so let's wish him luck here.
Even before American politicians started saying Canada would be the 51st state, American conservatives hated Justin Trudeau, even naming him the 2014 Cuck of the Year. Justin Trudeau largely ignored these, and in doing so solidified himself as a prime minister who stood his ground. But someone else also started standing their ground, and they did so better than him. That being Mike Caney. Al Jazeera on March 3rd, 2025 explains, Mike Caney, an economist and former central banker, has recently been chosen to replace Justin Trudeau as the prime minister at a time when the Liberal Party is poised to accept a humiliating defeat in the elections. But that defeat never occurred because Mike Caney assumed leadership and effectively led the party as best as he could. The Guardian on March 20th, 2025 furthers, Mike Caney has even threatened to dissolve Congress or Parliament, which isn't as drastic as that sounds. Effectively, he's just making snap elections, or elections that will happen at an earlier point compared to what they have been in the past. Considering, though, that conservative voters still outnumber liberal voters by 3-1, we must ask today's question. That being, what steps can Mike Carney take to ensure victory for the Liberal Party in the upcoming Canadian elections? The answer is that Mike Carney needs to take American threats to promote a united front. We can look at this through 3 points of analysis. First, 51st state claims. Second, not being Justin Trudeau. And finally, the looming trade war. Canadians have felt threatened about these threats, and rightfully so. There's nothing better than your longtime neighbor and ally saying, hey, I want everything you own. And you don't know if they need it or not. This leads us to our first reason as to how Mike Carney can ensure victories in the upcoming elections by promoting a united front. By using the threats of Donald Trump's 51st state agenda, he can make it to where the Liberal Party is effectively succeeding. The Guardian on January 1st, 2025 explains, Donald Trump made these threats thinking that they would become reality. And then 2 weeks later, the American hockey team lost 3-2 in overtime. I'm not saying there's a correlation, but unfortunately, the hockey team didn't do so well. But neither are the threats that Trump is using against Canada. Brookings on March 30th, 2024 explains, Justin Trudeau has effectively taken these threats and left them alone entirely, leaving Mike Carney to take up the mantle and do with them what he can. He's effectively made it to where the Liberal Party has seen a 71% increase in searches since February. This isn't saying that they're going to win, but it's showing that people are getting interested in liberal policies, and therefore are getting interested for what Mike Carney and the Liberal Party can bring to Canada, giving us our first reason as to how, by using American threats, Carney can promote a united front. While this may sound like a joke, it's the truth. Mike Carney isn't Justin Trudeau, and this is working to his benefit, giving us our second reason as to how Mike Carney can use American threats to promote a united front. Because he's proven he's not going to take these threats half-heartedly. He and the Liberal Party are going to take these threats as serious as they can. Al Jazeera on January 1st, 2025 explains, Justin Trudeau for 10 years was the Prime Minister of the world, known for his unabashedly progressive policies. That is until numerous allegations came out against him of corruption, fraud, and the several accounts of blackface. This ruined everything Justin Trudeau had and ruined the legacy he had sought to create. Mike Carney is making it clear that he is not Justin Trudeau, and he's doing so through one simple strategy. The Center for Strategic and International Studies explains on March 28th, 2025, Mike Carney is making it to where the Liberal Party is not only seeing success in searches, but they're seeing success in promotion. By simply removing Justin Trudeau's faces from any promotion ad they put out, they're making it to where the Liberal Party is becoming known as the progressive party, not just the Justin Trudeau and his allies party. They're making it clear Mike Carney is leading the front for how Canada can deal with American threats, giving us our second reason for how Mike Carney can ensure victory by using American threats to promote unity. The looming trade war is still looming. Obviously, I said looming twice there. But this just goes to show that the trade war is still unsure at this moment, giving us our third and final reason as to how Mike Carney can effectively use American threats to promote an international unity by using the looming trade war to further boost Canadian economic sectors. Business Insider on March 28th, 2024 explains, Canada has not been doing so good when it comes to the international economy. They've been relying so much on American exports and imports that they effectively don't have a clear international trade identity. But Mike Carney is working to solve this, once again taking Justin Trudeau's mistakes and making them actually solvable. Brookings on January 1st, 2025 explains, ever since Donald Trump imposed his tariffs, Canada has seen a 32% increase in production to their economic sectors. It's obvious Canada is growing after Trump's tariffs. And even if this trade war is coming to pass, it's clear. Mike Carney is not only here to lead Canada, but he's here to lead the Canadian economy, giving us our third and final reason as to how Mike Carney can ensure a Liberal victory by using American threats to promote unity. Upon returning to today's question, that being, what steps can Mike Carney take to ensure victory for the Liberal Party in the upcoming Canadian elections? We answered, Mike Carney needs to use American threats to promote a sense of national unity. We looked at this further through 3 points. First, the 51st state claims. Second, how Mike Carney simply isn't Justin Trudeau. And finally, how Mike Carney is using Canadian economic boosts to prove the looming trade war isn't going to be a war after all. So while conservatives may have hated Justin Trudeau for everything he stood for, it's clear Mike Carney isn't going to just sit in the corner and watch someone take Canada by the reins. He's going to do it himself, proving that he's not a cuck, but he's the prime minister Canada has needed and has wanted for years now.
Thank you so much, Blake. Our next speaker is Olivia DeClercq. So for any of you that have taken public speaking here on campus, you've likely had to perform your own informative speech. Our informative speech is a little bit longer than the 5 to 8 minute version that some of you may have had to given. Olivia's will be 10 minutes max. So without further ado, Olivia DeClercq.
It was the year 1963, and Dr. Barry Sturman had just launched an experiment with which he hoped to uncover the secrets of the brain. Sturman, though, didn't utilize human subjects in his groundbreaking research, but rather the 30 cats he borrowed from NASA. And surprisingly enough, it was through these feline experiments that Sturman was able to uncover patterns the brain uses to change its wavelengths and movements by using sound frequencies and reward systems. Sturman's research was revolutionary, and it laid the framework for a new type of therapy known as neurofeedback therapy. The New York Times on January 12, 2022 explains that neurofeedback is a non-invasive treatment that utilizes sensors and frequencies to alter the brain's wavelengths and activities. And Forbes writes on March 1st of 2024 that although the science isn't an inherently new approach, the research around neurofeedback is still both inconclusive and ongoing. But while it may not be a cure-all, there is evidence to suggest it can be an effective treatment for conditions like epilepsy, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and insomnia, among other mental health conditions. So, considering the impact this lesser-known treatment can have on mental health development, let's discuss what neurofeedback is the benefits and drawbacks, and some implications. Because everybody deserves the best treatment for their success. Now, Sturman's cats were later shot into space by NASA, and surprisingly enough, those who completed the brain training were unaffected by lunar lander fuel, while the rest suffered a more unfortunate fate. But it did reveal to the scientific community the power of neurofeedback therapy. So let's dive in and discuss both the history and the modern usage of neurofeedback. First, in the beginning, there was a lot of bias around brain training. Throughout the 1970s, the scientific community rejected all mindfulness practices. And unfortunately for neurofeedback, it requires patients to relax and allow their brainwaves to slow down. As a result, the scientific community officially regarded it as spooky medicine. And Michigan Brain Health on June 28, 2024 explains that it wasn't until neuroplasticity, or the brain's ability to change its own functions, was revealed in the late 1980s that it was accepted as a tool. Mental illnesses can actually reform the pathways within the brain, generating symptoms we commonly associate with conditions like anxiety or ADHD. In fact, Harvard psychiatrist Dr. Suruchi Chandra explains that people with anxiety have too much fast brainwave activity, leaving them feeling on edge, hyper-aroused, and panicky, whereas those with ADHD have an excess of slower brainwave activity, resulting in symptoms like brain fog, trouble focusing, and daydreaming. Here, the goal of neurofeedback is to help the brain modulate these dysregulated brainwave patterns. Second, as the development continues, CBC News explains on January 1st of 2024 that the stigma around brain therapy is starting to decrease, as it's commonly used as a non-drug solution for conditions like anxiety and ADHD. Right now, the most popular form of neurofeedback is known as alpha-theta trading. The National Library of Medicine on June 13, 2023 explains that disruptive brainwave activity can result from mental conditions of any kind. But through neurofeedback, we can work to match the alpha and the theta waves at their peaks to develop healthier brainwave patterns that actually allow the brain to heal itself. Now, the brain doesn't rest in this healing state naturally for very long, maybe only 2 or 3 minutes before you fall asleep at night. So, the goal of neurofeedback is to help the brain maintain this healing state for longer periods of time. Sturman decided to work with cats because they're wildly less obedient than dogs. Challenge accepted. But once he moved away from the cats, he found that the human brain is a lot more stubborn to changes. So, given this barrier to neurofeedback success, let's discuss both the benefits and the drawbacks of neurofeedback therapy. First, neurofeedback is a segment of a growing trend in daily wellness, known as biohacking. ABC News on June 5th, 2024 explains that neurofeedback and biofeedback are becoming part of the norm, allowing patients to take better control over their own health and well-being. They can track metrics like heart rates and stress levels using biofeedback, and then use that information to inform on neurofeedback practices. In fact, the National Alliance on Mental Illness on April 25th, 2024 explains that an integrated approach between neurofeedback and biofeedback actually bolsters the strengths of each. For example, a patient can identify a rising heart rate using their watch, and then engage in the moving and breathing techniques learned in neurofeedback that activate healthy brainwave responses to triggering events. This means that patients have better control over their own internal processes in the face of highly emotional circumstances. However, neurofeedback is also widely inaccessible. The Washington Post on August 18, 2023 explains that health providers are reluctant to cover it, and even many doctors aren't aware of neurotherapy options. So it remains largely controversial and hasn't been subjected to gold standard tests, such as double-blind trials that are used in drug testing. Because of that, most insurance companies don't even consider it. But on top of that, the treatments have to be long-term in order for the results to be seen. Dr. Michael G. Quark explains that it could take anywhere from 20 to 30 sessions for the brain to rewire its dysregulated processes. So, for patients looking outside of the bounds of traditional therapy options, neurofeedback can be difficult to access. Speaking of difficult to access, space was originally extremely inaccessible for astronauts. But the wonders of Sterman's cats figured out how to save their brains from seizures beyond the bounds of Earth. Now, the bounds of neurofeedback are still being discovered. So let's blast into the future and discuss two implications: pairing with traditional talk therapy and accurate diagnosing. First, neurofeedback doesn't happen on its own. Dr. Robert Barrick explains that the combination between neurofeedback and traditional talk therapy is necessary and powerful because neurofeedback changes the body's responses to emotions and experiences. That means topics discussed in traditional talk therapy can help be actualized with the help of neurofeedback. However, for patients who opt to only use neurofeedback, it can actually lead to the intellectualizing of emotions. The National Alliance on Mental Illness on August 18, 2024 explains that this is a psychological defense mechanism where you avoid feeling and processing negative emotions by using logic and reasoning to explain their existence. So, when neurofeedback provides a more scientific solution to mental illnesses, it can actually stand as a barrier to the processing that's necessary to overcome mental illnesses, rather than just mitigating their effects. And finally, the technology used in neurofeedback can help inform doctors on diagnosing mental health conditions. Psychiatrist Dr. Stuart Nell in 2025 explains that mental illnesses are extremely difficult to diagnose because of overlapping symptoms. For example, 50% of children with ADHD have anxiety. However, not all children with anxiety have ADHD. Unfortunately, this has led to countless misdiagnoses, especially within women and children who display their symptoms differently. However, not all hope is lost. The National Library of Medicine on April 28, 2024 explains that the technology used in neurofeedback can be used in EEGs, or electroencephalograms. These are tests that measure the electrical activity within the brain. And when different mental illnesses like anxiety, depression, or other brain diseases have different electrical identifications, it can actually help doctors pinpoint the exact illness. This means that we have more accurate diagnosing for mental illnesses that may have overlapping symptoms. Now, I'm all out of cat stories. So today we discussed what neurofeedback is, the benefits and drawbacks, and some implications. Millions of people around the world suffer from mental health illnesses. And while it still may be new, neurofeedback might just be the next step in innovative therapy options for those of us who need it the most.
Thank you so much, Olivia. We're going to shift gears back to oral interpretation of literature, and so far you've only seen individuals up here speaking. Our next event is duo interpretation. So what our performers are doing is they have taken multiple pieces of literature, and they will be embodying multiple characters up here. It's going to look a little different because there are a couple rules with it, mainly being that they can't look at each other and they can't touch. Weird rules, but anyway, we abide by them. Next up, we'll have Casey Looper and Ella Seaton performing their duo interpretation.
Who's ready to learn a new line dance? We're getting started in 5, 6, 7, 8, go. Hey, mister, won't you sell me a fake ID? There's a man in a car. Excuse me.
Hello?
Hey, could you turn down the music?
What?
The music, can you turn it down?
Sure.
If you actually call that music.
You don't like this music?
Radio country? Decidedly not.
Tell you what I'm gonna do. Who wants to learn how to line dance?
Oh!
If you can feel the beat, you can learn to dance.
Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby. wobble.
Stick with it. When you mess up, you jump back in. It's not about being perfect. We have all been beginners. We all have to start somewhere.
People are struggling to simply eat and find shelter over their heads.
It has to be torn down. In a city where real estate is so valuable, who wants to have a business where half the room is just empty space?
They could be dancing in the streets.
So while line dancing, let us count the steps.
We have seen the magic when we grab our boots and join the line. It's not about moving to the music. It's about connecting with others.
Line dancing is inclusive.
A space for dancers of all backgrounds.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or taking your first steps, we praise the dance for it frees the minds for the isolated communities. So remember,
There's always a place for you.
in the line.
Marginalized identities are under increasing threat, both through physical safety and legislation, heightened within the intense political climate of the American South.
The Human Rights Campaign in 2024 explains Tennessee lawmakers are enacting more than twice as many anti-queer laws than any other state.
Whether through further restricting access to abortion or lessening punishment for sexually violent crimes. Nashville Scene on February 27th, 2023 poses that the point of these laws is to reaffirm that bodily autonomy does not exist in Tennessee.
Making it very difficult for both of us to call Tennessee our home. However, one space uniquely affords members of the queer community
And women.
bodily autonomy and safety. Line dancing bars.
Pace in 2024 explains line dancing has undergone a cultural resurgence due to its safe social dance space for women and ability to disrupt stereotypes of Southern queer identity. So through the drama, Bar Scene by Murphy, Stud Country by the LA Times, and an episode of Jane the Virgin.
The pros, My Queer Lit and Being Gay versus Being Southern by Tammy Lynn.
Articles from Women's Health, Vanishing Active Third Spaces, The Bitter Southerner, and the Huffington Post.
Poetry by Bird, Cormac, and Moran. And lyrics by Anders, Manners, and Loggins.
A celebration of line dancing from Kick and Style, Step into Joy, and Kick Up Your Heels, and an episode of the So True podcast with Caleb Herod.
A program
Because the only time we have control of our bodies.
is when we're dancing. So, is this your thing, like serving people drinks and watching them dance?
Oh, we're not here to watch people dance.
What?
I wore my dancing shoes.
Oh, I definitely don't know the steps.
Come
to all
on,
of them.
just roll with it.
Okay.
To the right,
Nope.
to the left.
Oh, okay.
Come on, pick up the pace.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know where I was
Just
going in my feet.
Watch my feet.
Okay.
Out, out, forward, backward.
Wait, I think I got it.
Let's see about that.
Now we gotta cut loose, kick off the Sunday shoes. Please, Louise, pull me off of my knees.
Okay. I knew you had it in you, country boy.
Yeah.
Can I get you a drink?
Perfect.
You said you didn't like this kind of music.
I didn't grow up on it, but being from the South, you kind of had to speak the language.
Yeah,
But you like it?
I love it. Everything about it. Dancing to it, listening to it. Tell me something about yourself.
Okay, let's see. The South is where I was born. Growing up in the South as a gay teen, I sort of rejected country music and Southern culture. At the time, I thought there was nothing worse than being gay and Southern. That no two parts of a person could be more in conflict. I always told that to be Southern, you had to always love God. And then I was always told that if I wanted to love God, being gay prevented me from doing so. Because God couldn't love me back. So living in all of that, I was just like, country's bad. Unless we're talking about Beyonce's 16 Carriages.
Right.
Oh God, when that came out, I just remember weeping in the shower and remembering 7-year-old hick me.
I think it's beautiful half the time. Half the time devastating, but you can't escape who you were when you were 7.
Yeah. So now, tell me something about you.
Me?
Yeah! Like where'd you go to school?
Here.
Here?
I was bar schooled. I hardly ever been outside this bar. I started bartending and it was battered and tattered and ugly. And unfortunate looking men would say to me,
I'm interested in having sex with someone tonight. I'm approaching you with that in mind.
I've had my boobs grabbed and people put their hands up my skirt and down my top. I'd be trying to get through a crowd. And it's intentional and a violation of your body every time. Their touch lingers there as they move by. Men rest their hands on your waist, the small of your back, physically move you. And I would just be thinking, God, this is such a...
Like it was chosen for you?
Yeah. Like it was chosen for us a long time ago.
Sorry.
That word sorry. It's a bitch, isn't it?
The feeling of line dancing
And being in lockstep with people
is
is
indescribable. Everyone around you is in unison.
it's like hitting some deep part of the human brain
where we want to work together as people. We have to tear these places down.
These places are disturbing.
You don't need a place to dance. You could be dancing
In the streets.
But this is our haven for expression and connection.
These are not just venues.
They're sanctuaries. We can exist for the mask we wear
But when we close our eyes
and dance.
come on. One, two, three, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Woo! Okay. Here we go.
Because for so many of us,
This is home. Despite our own experiences with religion and the place of our birth, when I close my eyes and dance, I hope that things are going to be okay. That I'm going to be okay.
I wish that not every single one of my female friends had these stories. I wish we didn't live in a world that just wants us to shut up and accept the status quo.
Or maybe it's just that all of us Southerners
Those of us who have done all we can to stamp it out.
can't shut up about how homesick we are.
Thank you both so much. And so for our next event, I'm actually going to need your all's help. And our next speaker, Avellino, get out of here.
Bye-bye.
So our next event is going to be impromptu speaking. Avellino is going to have no idea of the quotation that you all are going to provide him. So I'm going to field it all from you all. what is a quotation that you would like Avellino to speak on this evening? And we've had quotations all the way from Shakespeare to Cardi B to Bad Baby, whoever you want it to be. What are some options that you all would like to hear this evening? Yeah.
And they say chivalry is dead.
And they say chivalry is dead. Okay. Do we have an attribution for that?
No.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate it. So we got, and they say chivalry is dead. All right, we got a good option there. What else?
There's no such thing as a life that's better than yours, people.
J. Cole. Okay, there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. Okay. What else? Yeah.
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us for our
Well, it is Tolkien Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tolkien Reading Day. So we've got, all we can do is, can you say it one more time?
All we can do is, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
Nice. I like that. So we've got three options. Do we want, yeah.
Let me see you do your dance. Let me see you twirl by Drake.
Okay. Let me see you do your dance. Let me see you twirl by Drake. All right. So I think okay.
Life is like Fortnite. When you're progressing, the circle will become smaller.
Life is like Fortnite. When you're progressing, the circle will become smaller. Okay. So I've got 5 options here. We'll do a quick reminder of them. Can you say yours one more time?
They say chivalry is dead.
So we've got, and they say chivalry is dead. What else do we have? J. Cole was, can you say it one more time? There's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. They say chivalry is dead, and they say there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours.
Let me see you do your dance. Let me see you twirl, right?
Let me see you dance. Let me see you twirl. We've got Tolkien. Can you say that one more time?
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
Fantastic. And then our last one, Fortnite.
Life is like Fortnite. When you're progressing, the circle will become smaller.
Circle will become smaller. All right. Way to go, Fortnite. All right. So you all get to vote on this one. You get 1 vote. Yeah, feel free to come on in. So hands raised, and again, you only get 1 vote for, and they say chivalry is dead. Womp womp off the table. Okay. All right. So our next one, J. Cole. Can you say it one more time? There's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. Show of hands. All right. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh. I think that one's dead too. All right. So our next one.
Let me see you do your dance. Let me see you twirl.
Let me see you do your dance. Let me see you twirl. How many hands do we have for this one? 2. Oh, we've got 2 running here for our dark horse champion. So it's between 2, it looks like. Hands for our J.R.R. Tolkien quotation. All right, I appreciate that. We've got 3. Yeah, Tolkien Reading Day. I appreciate that one. So I assume, by a show of hands, how many of you want to hear about Fortnite? Okay. All right. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind writing it down. So while he is writing down the quotation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Avellino in. He'll sit up here, and I'm going to give him verbals for his preparation. So he has 7 minutes in total to both construct and deliver this speech. He'll take roughly about 1:30 to be able to get his thoughts together. So if you all wouldn't mind being quiet during that time. And then I will be giving him time signals as he then performs. Once Luke gets done with his calligraphy. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. All righty. So please help me in welcoming in. I'll give you a second. I'll clear the hall. Come here. I'll let you know when prep begins.
All right, flip engine. That's 15, prep begins. Thirty seconds. One minute. One minute 30.
Charles Frith, who was a sports announcer in the 1980s, originally got into being a sports announcer because all of his friends were doing it. He felt a community with his profession. However, as he started to gain popularity and was one of the #1 most listened to sports announcers in the late 1980s, he found himself removed from his friends. Despite this, he still chose to follow his profession, despite his circle of friends getting smaller. And it's this idea of following success requiring us to be more comfortable with being alone that manifests itself in today's quotation. Life is like Fortnite. The more you progress, the smaller your circle will become. By Ninja. What this quotation is illustrating to us is that as we go through life and as we follow our dreams and become more successful, we will find ourselves surrounded by like-minded people. And because of that, some of those we once were around, our community, we may not see anymore. We have to agree with this quotation, but arguing that we should strive for success nonetheless. We will look at this in two ways. First, because sometimes we feel like a group is necessary for success, but instead, how we have to become comfortable with being alone. Just like in Fortnite, where winning in squads is easier than winning in solos, sometimes we feel that being in a squad can make us more comfortable. It can drive us to success further. But this is just not true. And we'll look at that first through Franz Kafka, and second, through the 100 Flowers campaign. Have any of you read Franz Kafka? Oh, he is a philosopher, so I'm not surprised. But he was one of the most successful philosophers coming into the 21st century. However, in the 20th century, he didn't show his writing to anyone. And that's because he felt isolated as a writer. His philosophical ideas were out there, and he was afraid that if he put them out there, he would lose his friends and community. Ultimately, Franz's need to have a community stopped him from seeing success in his lifetime, as his works were only released after his death. Let's also look at the example of the 100 Flowers campaign. In Maoist China, political dissonance was a big no-no. And because of this, many people found themselves isolated in their communities. And this is exactly what Mao hoped. In 1957, he illustrated the 100 Flowers campaign, where he set up designated buildings where people could practice political dissonance. Because of this, people who were isolated felt that they needed to join with a group to be successful against the government. Mao used this against them. And just a year after this campaign was launched, he went to those facilities, rounded everyone up, and put them into re-education camps. By believing that there was no way they could fight this government by themselves, they ultimately found themselves so detracted from their mission that there was no coming back. Through these two examples, it's clear that when we believe that we need a big group to be successful, sometimes we will find ourselves unsuccessful. Now that we understand, if we find ourselves needing to be in a group or needing to be in a squad to survive the Fortnite match, sometimes this will not work out. We have to realize that in order to find success, we must become comfortable with being alone. And we will look at this in two ways. First, through the chilling effect, and second, through Mike Rwanda. Have you ever been jamming out in your car to Beyonce, Taylor Swift, or God forbid, Tame Impala, where you approach a red light and suddenly stop as you know that other people are looking in at your car? If so, you've experienced what psychologists call the chilling effect, where the watchful eyes of others often inhibit ourselves from being, well, ourselves. Things we thought were cool suddenly become cringe. Things we were passionate about suddenly become parts of ourselves that we wish to hide. This illustrates that when we are around other people, sometimes we will not find success. And let's also apply this idea to Mike Rwanda. Mike Rwanda was a renowned animator for Netflix in 2022. He even created a movie called Michelle's versus the Machines, which you may have watched, you may have not. It was in one of the top 5 movies for Netflix of last year. However, Mike Rwanda soon found himself alone after Netflix fired all their human animators and traded them for AI. Mike Rwanda could have easily joined all the other animators in finding different jobs at other meta studios. But instead, he was comfortable alone, and he pursued his dream in another fashion. He now holds one of the only organizations within America that hires only human animators to push back against these AI initiatives. By allowing himself to be comfortable alone, he was able to survive the storm and the closing of the small circle. Through these two examples, it is clear that in order to be successful, we have to be comfortable with being alone. Returning to today's quotation, life is like Fortnite. The more you progress, the smaller your circle will become by Ninja. We saw that although our circle may get smaller, we should strive for success nonetheless. We saw this first because sometimes we do believe a group is necessary for success, but instead, how we should be comfortable with being alone. Just like Charles Frith found himself not surrounded by his friends anymore, his success, some may argue, made it worth it.
Thank you so much, Avellino. So we only have one more speech for this evening, but if you enjoyed tonight, make sure you come back tomorrow night and the next night too. We'll have more for you. Our last speech this evening is going to be a communication analysis public address speech. What Kelsey has done is she has selected a communication artifact. By that meaning it is something that is communicating a message. Then she has taken an academic lens through which to view that communication artifact. It sounds a lot more boring than the speech is going to be, but let's go ahead and welcome Kelsey Mosley.
To put it mildly, hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar has had a pretty good year. As the USA Today February 3rd, 2025 articulates, beyond Lamar's recent 5 Grammy wins, solidifying him as one of the most decorated rap artists in the show's history, only a week prior to a revolutionary Super Bowl halftime performance, it's clear Lamar's diss track battle with Drake solidly centered him in the pop culture spotlight. From March 29th to May 12th, 2024, Kendrick Lamar and Drake traded lyrical blows 9 times, with The Atlantic, GQ, NBC, New York Times, New Yorker, NPR, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and even my own father, each declaring Kendrick the undisputed winner. Although entertaining in its conflict, The Atlantic on May 8th notes the Kendrick-Drake beef rhetorically evolved as it escalated from who's the greatest rapper to which of these men is worse to women and children? Considering NBC on May 4th titled 2024, the year of the diss track, we must ask, how did Kendrick Lamar employ sophist rhetorical strategies to defeat Drake in their 2024 diss track battle? To answer, we will use Wendy Ramirez's Hip Hop as a Modern Sophistic Practice, published in DePaul University's 2017 Creative Knowledge Journal. This model proves appropriate because it explores how diss tracks embody sophistic practices while functioning in a modern, mediated culture. So, turn up your headphones as we first analyze Ramirez's model, apply to the Kendrick-Drake diss track view, and discuss a few implications. To a battle that, according to The Hill on May 10, 2024, reminds us of the power of communication through music and why hip hop is important. Ramirez notes, in ancient Greek politics, sophists relied on persuasive, but often deceptive, emotionally charged, and stylistically powerful rhetoric to shape public opinion. Diss tracks in hip hop function as modern sophism through three tenets: verbal performance, kairos, and double tongues. First, verbal performance. Ramirez explains, rap battles depend on the rhythm, flow, and word choice to sway public opinion of an opponent. The artist with the heaviest hitting bars bolsters perceptions of musical dominance. Second, kairos. Ramirez describes kairos as the opportune moment and reflected in music battles as the response song's release date. When beefing with an opponent, an artist must weigh a less developed, immediate response against a less timely, well-crafted performance to gain the upper hand. Finally, double tongues. Ramirez explains hip-hop artists, as entertainers, often misrepresent the truth or even invent lies to win audience. She asserts how artists exaggerate myths, events, or conspiracies of their opponent to obtain bragging rights, fans, or profits. After exploring Ramirez's model, we can apply it to the diss track battle between Kendrick and Drake. First, verbal performance. GQ on September 8th, 2024 explains, Kendrick Lamar's 6-minute-long Euphoria was the more straightforward diss track in the classic mold. Understrained bars, disdain, and unconcerned with replay value. Although the song prioritizes direct hits towards Drake, XXL Magazine on April 30th, 2024 recognizes Lamar's musical artistry with a calm, melodic dissection of Drake in Euphoria's first part, juxtaposed with a powerful attack mode beat switch in part 2. Meanwhile, Drake's best response track, Family Matters, was widely dismissed as unfocused, since his strongest punchlines were misdirected at other hip-hop icons. And as a ringer, on May 9th reveals, contained a rehash of old accusations toward Kendrick. Lamar's verbal performance resonated outside the context of the rap battle, fulfilling our first tenet. Second, kairos. The precision timing of Kendrick's responses kept him constantly 2 steps ahead of Drake. Billboard on May 4th, 2024 explains, Kendrick returned fire with his release of Meet the Grams mere minutes after Drake's release of his Family Matters. Kendrick's strategic release allowed him to control the narrative and severely weakened Drake's momentum. The previously cited GQ continues, the coupled release of Not Like Us after Meet the Grams applied back-to-back pressure on Drake, suffocating all of the oxygen out of Family Matters before it even had the chance to breathe, fulfilling our second tenet. Finally, double tongues. Kendrick utilized his Pulitzer Prize-winning wordplay to exaggerate myths and facts surrounding Drake to sway audiences. A lyrical breakdown of Meet the Grams published by Genius on May 2024 reveals, Kendrick insinuated Drake hid and abandoned a daughter. Although no evidence exists of Drake's rumored daughter, Kendrick fosters doubt by building upon shortcomings of Drake's past, notably his refusal to publicly acknowledge his son, Adonis Graham, until 2017. The aforementioned ringer summarizes, Drake was trying to disgrace Kendrick with uncharacteristic revelations, while Kendrick was trying to disgrace Drake with characteristic revelations. Kendrick's use of double-tongued exaggerations focused on a narrative people were already inclined to believe, fulfilling our final tenet. After applying Ramirez's model to this historical pop culture event, we can return to our research question. How did Kendrick Lamar employ sophist rhetorical strategies to defeat Drake in their 2024 diss track battle? Much like the sophists of ancient Greece, Kendrick Lamar realized truth is subjective, and reality depends on how well one argues their position. However, Kendrick's rhetorical success leads us to consider 2 implications: the legitimization of diss tracks and rap battles' true losers. First, the Kendrick-Drake beef legitimized diss track battles for a wider public, for good and ill. The Root on February 2nd, 2025 announced Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us as the first diss track ever to win a Grammy. While culturally momentous for this art form's recognition, diss tracks also regularly employ misogyny, criminal accusations, and personal scandals as rhetorical weapons. Rolling Stone on May 14, 2024 addresses these concerns by noting, not like Us's double entendre, A minor profits off sensitive and serious accusations of abuse against children. Kendrick intended his song to be an anthem for people sharing the Black American experience, but his diss track domination may instead reinforce darker trends in hip hop, further relegating women and children to fodder for the normalization of toxic masculinity and hypermasculine posturing. Finally, Drake may not be the only loser in this rap battle. As diss tracks become legitimized, we're more willing to adopt and seek sophistic rhetoric elsewhere. The San Francisco Chronicle on September 11, 2024 noted, the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump was widely viewed, but not for its policy debate, but as a spectator sport for aggressive rivals and a personal war. Likewise, the New York Times on October 2nd, 2024 cites how mainstream media overwhelmingly referred to the vice president debate between Tim Walz and JD Vance as dull for its civility. Diss track rhetoric often prioritizes insults, humiliation, and personal destruction rather than engaging in meaningful discussion or critique. As political debates and online discussions increasingly mimic clapbacks and roast battles, we may move even closer to the normalization of personal attacks over constructive debate. Today, we examined Ramirez's model, applied it to the Kendrick Drake diss track battle, and drew implications. For sophists, persuasion was an art form, more than a means to convey truth. Diss tracks are the new sophism, and success isn't determined by who is right, but who sways the audience into supporting the most compelling story.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. And for those of you that were here for extra credit purposes, this might be maybe the most important thing that you're looking forward to. So if you're in my courses, if you will take a selfie with 4 and 6, and then you post that onto the link on my Blackboard page, I'll give you your extra credit that way. Again, I'm going to offer extra credit for each night that you come. So I hope to see many of you back for the upcoming nights. But for me to you, thank you all so very much for being such an excellent audience this evening. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was